Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be learning how to make this simple lovely Ankara shift dress. You can make this with African print or any other fabric you decide to use. So let's get started. Now this is my own African print and I'll be drafting directly on my fabric today. Now I've folded my fabric into two, okay, and I've drawn the lines I need. Okay, and then you can see the fold. Now this is my shoulder line. Okay, you leave some inches before drawing the line. Yeah, imagine. Then the distance from my shoulder to chest line is half of my armhole circumference measurement. So and then the next line will be the hemline of the dress. So for this dress you don't need waistline, you don't need hip line because it's a free dress. Perfect for pregnant ladies here actually, or you need something just very easy. Okay, so on the shoulder line I will mark quarter half of my across back measurements. Same thing on the chest line, I'll mark half of my across back measurement. Then still on the chest line I'll mark quarter of my bust circumference plus 1 inch for side seam allowance. Okay, so I'll just connect the 2 points I marked for the across back measurement on the shoulder and chest line. Now I'm going to move my fabric upwards a bit so that we can see the hemline. So here, okay, and this dress is best one as a short dress. Now on the hemline, I'll mark quarter of my hip plus at least 4 inches, depending on how wide you want the hemline to be. But you know it's an A-line dress, so you're marking quarter of your hip plus at least 4 inches. Okay, so I'll mark that and still add my 1 inch for seam allowance. And then, okay, so please do not use your hands to draw the line. Please, I beg you, use a ruler. Okay, so that the dress will come out properly aligned. Now I'm using a long steel ruler to connect my chest line to the hemline, like so on the seam allowance, and I'll also mark the original measurement, but it's not really necessary anyway. Now we're going to do the neckline. So for the neckline, I'm doing 3.5 inch for my neck width, and then I'm doing 5 inch or 4.5 inch for the neck depth. It actually depends on your preference. Then with my French curve, I'm joining the neckline together. So I have constructed my neckline. Then from the shoulder line, I'll come down by 1 inch and create my shoulder slant. Okay, so next step is to create the armhole. So this is my French curve. Make sure it's touching the chest line and also the 1 inch we came down from the shoulder, that point. Okay, so here, this is it. Meanwhile, this neckline is for the back. We'll be adding seam allowance 1/2 inch to the neckline, the shoulder slant, and the armhole. That is when I want to cut it. Okay, now we're going to be using the same pattern, pattern to cut out the back. The only difference would be in the zip allowance. So now I'm going to mark my back neckline on the same fabric. So I'm coming down by 1.5 inch. Then the neck width is definitely the same thing. Okay, so here, this is it. Okay, so I will be cutting out now. So I'm starting with the back neckline. Can you see? Then I'm adding 1/2 inch seam allowance to my shoulder slants. Now I have folded my fabric again. Okay? And I added all the seam allowances. Now I folded the fabric and I added 1 inch for zipper. Can you see it? Now I'm going to place the first one we cut out. I'll place it on the line before the zipper allowance. Okay, so the extra 1 inch is for zipper. Now I'll place it like this and use the front to cut out the back. Now when we're through with that, I can now cut out my front neckline. Okay, so you can see that this is the back. Okay, now I can cut out the front neckline on the first piece. Then I'll add 1/2 inch. I won't cut exactly on the mark I marked. Okay, so here, this is it. All right. So, and I'll also be cutting facing for both the front and back. Facing is the shorter version of your lining. Now let's go to the cutting of the, should I call it cape or peplum? Now to do that, you're going to fold your fabric into 2. It's preferable for you to use a contrasting color so that the design will come out. So you fold the fabric into 2 and then you're going to fold again. Now for this one, you can make it a half circle, you can do a full circle, whatever you like, you know, but I'm doing a full circle. So I'm going to fold this again the second time. Okay, so it's more like I want to cut a full circle. I'm sure some of us already know how to do that. So after doing this, I would measure my shoulder circumference measurements, yeah, and find the radius. Okay, so radius of a full circle is, you divide the shoulder circumference measurements by 6.28. So whatever you get, you measure the value like this. So my radius should be like 7. Okay, just an assumption. So you mark your radius like this. Okay, after marking the radius, you are going to cut out. Then you just add 1/2 inch seam allowance. You're not cutting directly on the line. Then next is to mark the length of the peplum, the flay, the what should I call it again? The cape, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just making use of 5 based on my fabric. Okay, so here is it. This is it here. So all you do is you're going to open up one side. Then you want to use your serger to like clean up the rough edges on both sides. Now this, back to the dress, I said I'll be cutting out a facing. So this is my facing for the front. It's a shorter version of the dress, you know, of the lining. And this is the facing for the back. Okay, so now I'll be joining front and back together at the shoulder fabric. Right side facing right side. Okay, like this. I will join them together at the shoulder and I'll repeat the same thing for my facing. Okay, so this is my facing too. This is the front and then the 2 back pieces. So for the facing, make sure it's, you know, extends beyond the chest line. That way it won't be coming out. Okay, so after joining, this is what you have. You can see that the neckline is already coming out. So I'll place my facing on the dress, right side facing right side. I'll go ahead and turn the neckline, okay, with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, this part, the other parts there, that's the armhole, I'll also turn it. Okay, so I have turned my neckline and the armhole. And then this is my cape, my flare, my peplum, anything you want to call it. Now from my shoulder line, I'll be coming down by 7 inches. That is where I want to position the peplum. It actually depends on your preference, okay? So I'll also come down my 7 inches on the other side. And then I'll use my ruler and chalk to draw a line faintly so that while I'm placing the peplum, I'll, you know, it will be properly aligned. And I'll repeat the same thing for the back too. Okay, you come down, same thing. All right, now we move ahead to the placement of the peplum. For the peplum, you fold it into two equal parts. Then you mark the midpoint. Once you mark the midpoint, you're going to pin it down to the midpoint of the dress. So this is it. You're sewing right side on the right side of the dress. You pin it down. At this point, you need to make use of your office pins. Okay, so once you pin down, now once you get to this end here, that is the armhole. Okay, you have to leave some space that will cover up for the sleeve. So you just come directly to the back like this and then pin it down. Now, when you're measuring your shoulder circumference, don't make it too tight, but at least it should be firm. So you go ahead and sew up to this point, then this opening will be for the sleeves, and then same thing on the other side. You stitch it down to the dress. Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. So you can see the opening for your hands or the sleeve. So this is what forms the cold shoulder. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and turn the side seam, and we all know that side seam allowance is 1 inch definitely. So I'll go ahead and do that on both sides, and I'll also be turning my center back seam. Okay, so I've done my side seam and I've given it a very good press, and I've also sewn my center back seam, and I left about say 9 inches for my zipper opening. Then you should also fold your hemline, iron it before you go ahead to sew it so that you won't have pleats. Now I'll be fixing my zipper, and this is the final outcome of the dress. It's so easy to make, it doesn't take time, so I hope this tutorial was helpful. Please give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment and reaction. Do not forget to share with your friends. Thank you so much. Bye.